appreciate it when someone leaves a comment on my channel. I also love getting questions and always try to do my very best to answer with as much detail as possible. Well, I recently received another question from a wonderful man asking about the Anunnaki and the origin of humanity, and whether I would be willing to make a video on that topic. So, of course, I hoped to do just that. However, you know, as I searched my memory and soul for that information, I was not completely satisfied with what I came up with. But, boy, I've definitely learned some interesting things along the way. There's a lot of New Age information that depicts the Anunnaki as giant reptilians or lizard people. And some of this probably comes from the ancient Sumerian tablets that represent a line of reptilians as giant humanoid lizard-like beings standing upright. Well, reptilians are said to be shapeshifters who can change their form into that which seems human. Then there are the books of Zecharia Sitchin, in which he states that the Anunnaki came from a planet beyond Neptune called Nibiru, which some are calling Planet X, and that they were responsible for the creation of the Sumerian culture. He says that when the orbit of Nibiru came dangerously close to Earth, it clashed with the planet Tiamat, which was a water planet. And when Tiamat was destroyed, all the waters fell onto the Earth. And that's what was responsible for the Great Flood. You know, I read the Sitchin books back in the 80s, but to be honest, for some reason, they never really resonated with me. I always felt there was something kind of off with the information. But that could have just been because it was sort of incomplete at that stage. You know, I'm not sure. But by the way, a fascinating detail that my guides offered was when after the flood, because of the huge oceans, the Earth was veiled in a foggy atmosphere that dimmed the sun for many, many years. Fascinating. Well, what most of us know about the Anunnaki comes from what we've been told about the writings within the Sumerian tablets, stating that they were creator gods who came to Earth 445,000 years ago, during a time when the only beings on Earth were animals. These creator gods were called the Anunnaki, meaning those who came to Earth from above. Supposedly, the Anunnaki were from a distant planet, as I said, Nibiru, and were giant beings who could live hundreds of thousands of years old. We're told that this information from the tablets says that their planet, Nibiru, had become hostile to them because of a degrading atmosphere. So they came to Earth to mine for gold in order to restore the atmosphere. The Anunnaki brought with them another race called the Igigi, who were their slaves. Well, when the slaves rebelled because of terrible mistreatment, they were nearly all killed. And this is where the Anunnaki supposedly created a hybrid race called Homo sapiens and made them their slave race, who were put to work in the gold mines. As these humans evolved, some of the Anunnaki leaders bred with the human women, creating a race of giants. These children were called the Nephilim, which meant giants of old. Then there was that calamity that I mentioned, caused by the orbit of Nibiru coming too close to the Earth, causing huge earthquakes and other terrible cataclysms, and the entire Earth was flooded. Before the flood, some of the Anunnaki took off in their starships, but others stayed. This is, of course, where the story of Noah came from, which everyone knows about. After the flood, the Anunnaki developed the advanced Sumerian civilization, which seemingly came out of nowhere. The Sumerian tablets state that the kings created a royal bloodline which was genetically manipulated by the Anunnaki. Well, one of the reasons everyone seems to be talking about this right now is the information stating that the orbit of this massive planetary object, or Planet X or Nibiru, is returning to this disastrous collision course with Earth. And this is what will supposedly wipe out humanity once again. Oh, geez. So anyway, I asked my guides for anything more that they could give me on this subject. And the information I received is in some ways slightly different than some of what I've read or seen on YouTube. So, as always, I would remind you to use your own discernment and decide what feels right to you. Keep what resonates and toss out the rest. The information I received referred to the Anunnaki as one or more extraterrestrial races that came from the stars and seeded knowledge to mankind. I was also told that some of Zecharia Sitchin's work is incorrect, but that he was deceived into believing that the information he was getting was fact, but some of it was not, but was filtered through to him as authentic. I was also told that there are errors in the information that humanity has been given about the Sumerian tablets. Yet, some of what is now being referred to by humanity as the Anunnaki were indeed negative reptilian beings who transformed their appearance to be more acceptable to the human or Lyrian race, and are still around today, wielding their power over the people of the earth. My guides stressed the point that much of the actual information in the sacred texts has been kept from the people and only allowed to be read by priests or secret societies. So it's really difficult to trust the information coming through from the religious texts because most that comes forward to the masses has been altered. So what we can discern from the ancient writings is that there very likely was an ET race of giant beings that came to Earth long ago and were responsible for much of our systems of writing and mathematics, but along with an influence of control and manipulation. So are humans a race of genetically altered hybrids created by these giant extraterrestrials? Or were they altered simply by the negative mind control of being enslaved. My guides have stated that both of these things were attempted. To my mind, the most valuable thing to take out of all of this is that these human bodies, altered or not, are sacred divine vessels, incorporating all of source consciousness into the physical, which includes this very information that we've been talking about and everything else we've been longing to know and understand. All of this knowledge is embedded within our own source consciousness. And as we continue to raise in vibration, this knowledge will be activated into our cellular awareness and available to us all. We don't need past history to tell us who we are or where we came from. We are no longer enslaved unless we believe ourselves to be. We are the final masterpiece of God and are here now, living through the greatest and most dramatic adventure ever in the history of our universe. This is the time to be alive, the present. We are our own rescuers and don't need anyone outside of ourselves to deliver us from harm or destruction. We came here to Earth not only to set ourselves free from the exploitation and control, but the entire planet, all of mankind. This is our role. We truly are the genesis of a new Earth and a new civilization. Thank you again, Paolo. And thanks so much for listening, guys. Bye-bye.